say hello. Have to be brave, just don't be scared. So trot with me through the autumn leaves and keep close to stay warm. Soon you'll see how much you mean to me. Feelings I've never felt before. Feelings I've never felt before. When I see her with her filly, I know that I'll look silly. I can't stop grinning ear to ear. But when the air gets chilly, the cuteness nearly kills me. That mare deserves Mother of the Year. So trot with me through the autumn leaves and keep close to stay warm. Soon you'll see how much you mean to me. Feelings I've never felt before. Feelings I've never felt before. I know a mare whose mind is free. You know you're special, at least to me. They will say what they want and still be mean. What's next for you? That's to be seen. Trot with me through the autumn leaves and keep close to stay warm. Soon you'll see how much you mean to me. Feelings I've never felt before. Feelings I've never felt before.
Hello, everyone. It is me. I'm here, and we are doing things. Hello, Nicolas Cage face. Okay. So yes, today we will be doing reading, and yeah, that's about it. Hopefully none of you are dying and or dead yet. That would be most preferable. So without further ado, while I eat a breadstick, let us get introduced to the call.
God!
Hello, Cole.
Oh,
Liking you, monster.
You want to talk about a bomb? Jesus Christ!
Okay, Lycan, I've got something to tell you. It's very simple.
Oh no.
Oh, we're getting into that this early now, are we?
Ah,
You
shit! I
just
just
keep
got
that
my
with
bone
you
in my
wherever you
sauce.
go.
I don't even have a knife, but I have these scissors.
That's
just
not a
dropped-
knife. This is a knife.
I just dropped one of my bullets inside of a vat of ranch.
Well, that's a raunchy situation.
Now that is a definite, definite description of the Midwest. Bullets in a pile of ranch.
No, that would be bullets in a pile of Dorothy Lynch.
It reminds me of that Guy Fury meme.
Which one?
The one where it's like he lubes up a bullet with barbecue sauce.
Lubes up a bullet.
Lubes up a bullet. There are so many other ways you could have described
So-
that.
So, anyways,
what is your recent internet history?
Usually I just write my friends' names on them.
There is no internet history. I delete it every morning.
Do you really want to know? That sounds like a bad idea. Writing my friends' names on my bullets? Yes.
Which one has my name on it?
One of the 9mm. I mean,
Okay.
obviously the one that has your name on it.
I was gonna say I know I've slept with the Forest Rain bullet before.
Really?
Yeah, when we were in
What?
DC, you were just like, here, maybe this will make you more comfortable.
Oh, I'm stupid.
So,
Yes, you
Is it
are.
like- are you saying literal bullets, or is that like some code for something?
No, literal bullets.
So,
I figured I should
anyways,
write my own name on a bullet so that nobody else has to.
So, anyways, can I get introduced or introduce people?
Yeah, sure.
You can
Let's
try.
get
Welcome
let's get
everyone
the.
to Winchester Wednesdays, and
Whoa,
this
whoa.
is our host.
Winchester.
Wait, we missed the opportunity for the brand new Double R Forest to introduce Winchester.
Oh, that's right. Okay, Double R
Yeah,
Forest.
okay.
We have to do the intro now.
Hello, welcome to this Wednesday's Winchester Wednesdays. Here's our host, Winchester. Say hi to the folks.
It doesn't even sound like him.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, hello. This is me. Now taking over. We have my lovely co-host, Crazy Matt Captain and Skyrays.
Hello.
I'm sorry, but you got it right. It's CSS 7365-14, the 50-year anniversary of the CSS trains.
Kind of
Is that like some sort of cascading style sheet thing?
No, the Chessie train system. It's gold.
Fuck,
mean, it
he's
can
turning
be,
into
but
coal
there's
dust.
also-
We need to put him out of his misery.
There is no way to put out of misery.
Alrighty.
Can only accept.
And next up is our wonderful editor, Double R Forest.
This quarantine has made me so lazy that now, after taking my shower, I didn't even bother to put clothes on.
Good to
Also, we
know.
replaced him with a completely different person.
So he's
Yes.
entirely naked at his computer. Got it.
We used one of oh god. We used one of Zyfco's cloning machines to clone Double R, I guess. Yeah, if any of you guys remember that, long throwback. And
What are you talking about? I am Double R.
I don't think they work like that.
let's
Though
not
they do
get
end up with a whole different personality, don't they?
I am me.
and
Thank you, Commander something.
I think that's
becoming sentient.
I think that's quoting one of our fanfics from a while back. So anyways, not to get Double R confused with Double R Forest confused with Forest Rain, who only has
Single.
technically 2 R's in her full name, but yes.
Single R Forest. Rain. I don't know why I'm
And-
holding control. I have voice activation on. What the fuck is wrong with me?
And also,
You know,
she. It also that was the lovely person behind the intro song that literally I scrolled as far back onto her channel as I possibly could. And
It's
found...
not the oldest one though.
No, it's not.
Trot with me through our eyes. Apparently, my singing was so bad back then that Skyrays thought I had a different mic.
Also, come to think of it-
through the autumn leaves.
Now that I think of it, I have 6 R's in my name. Forrest Gregory Burroughs.
Jesus Christ, that's way too many times I gotta touch my lip with my tongue.
All right, now to
Well, then you should stop touching your face.
congratulations, you now all have his name. Here is his address, his phone number, his social security number, and the place of business that he works. Go have fun attacking him, and going off of that, we'll go straight into Lycan.
You know, we can't actually put Double R Forest into a movie because then it'll be rated R.
And speaking of rated R, we have Cinder.
Oh, hi. I'm a degenerate.
Tell us something we don't know.
Oh, I got nothing.
Nothing that can be said in stream, at least.
Oh crap.
Bullshit.
So you know how you just dropped your bullet into your ranch sauce?
God damn it! What?
Yeah, I just dropped my handgun into my Mexican dip. It's now a guacamole.
And on that, I would like to refer back to Cinder's degeneracy and next introduce Dark.
Hello,
Okay,
all.
where's my
I'm Dark the
shotgun?
Eagle. I don't come here often, but I'm here now. I don't have much of an introduction, but
Oh.
It's
Alrighty,
called
I'm glad that nobody took
ad-lib,
that off and ran with it.
improv, parlor trick.
Who's the parlor?
Damn it, this thing doesn't have enough vodka in it. 1 second.
Wait, that was supposed to have vodka in it? I put water in it.
That explains a lot.
No, he's disinfecting himself. He's
So-
doing good.
So we are here with another fun reading in this interesting time. And shit, I just poured vodka on my wooden desk.
oh no!
Oh,
Okay. So we've got a raunchy situation, a guacamole, and now we got this fucking issue here.
Well, at least you
what-
have me.
Like, and what kind of pun can you make of this vodka on the wood?
I don't know. I'm wiped clean.
God.
Okay.
I really expected nothing.
we needed Woody for that joke. Ugh. Guns,
I'll rush and get it.
vodka, and raspberry craft soda. What more do you need in a night? Oh yeah, fanfic reading. We should get on with that.
Lycan's really rushing to the point with that vodka joke.
Oh my god.
I now hand the stream over to Forest Rain because she is obviously much better at this than I am.
I have no idea what happened. I had the fucking quarantine farts, so I had to go and like brush my teeth and take a quick poo, but we are back now and everything is good.
Everything is fine?
Everything is
fine
awesome.
here.
Just don't look
how
at
are
that
you?
picture.
Everything is cool when you're part of a team.
Oh god, that toothpaste tastes awful with so anyway. Tonight it tastes like the dentist. Project
How do you know what
Sunflower.
the dentist tastes like? Excuse me?
Because the
Which
they
part of
use-
the dentist? All
trying to get
Forrest
the
Rain,
taste out of my mouth.
where on this doll did the dentist touch you?
Oh, I'd rather not think about it. So, Project Sunflower by Huppy McGee. Tonight we are. I just got this thing arranged. Okay. So tonight we will be doing chapter 21 of Project Sunflower by Hoopy McGee, and our cast list is as follows. CMC will be playing Aaron, as usual. Dark the Eagle is joining us with Princess Luna, who says big fancy words, and Sir Arthur Douglas, who should say big fancy words. The new and improved Quintuple R Forest will be doing Twilight Sparkle and Fluttershy.
Sextuple.
Sextuple. I'm sorry, Sextuple. Sextuple R. Skyrays will be doing Rosie Oats and Fanboy Scientist. Cinderscript will be playing Maggie Henson once again, doing a far better job than I attempted last time, as well as Thomas Edwards. Lycan will be playing Rainbow Dash and Pinkie Pie. Winchester will be reprising Applejack. And I will be doing narrator and rarity. And then it also says here that everyone is playing everyone. So we'll see how that works out. Dear God, I was not prepared. All right. Project Sunflower by Hoopy McGee. Chapter 21, Humans in Equestria. The Canterlot Gardens had no idea what was about to hit them. The air nearly crackled with magical potential in the bright afternoon sun as a circle of a dozen unicorns, horns glowing, surrounded a bare patch of grass. In the center of the circle stood Princess Luna, her horn glowing and wings half spread as she frowned in concentration. Twilight Sparkle, blinking furiously to keep the sweat out of her eyes, carefully matched her output to the other unicorns around her. On one side of the circle, her friends waited eagerly. Erin was having a conversation with her human friend Maggie. Her Ponyville friends were looking on with expressions ranging from fear, Fluttershy, to apprehension, Applejack and Rarity, and excitement, Pinkie Pie and Rainbow Dash.
Increase power to 20 thumbs and prepare to harmonize with Ponyville.
Twilight and the other unicorns raised their energy output to match Luna's command.
Erin, ask your friend to send the signal that we are ready.
Yes, Princess.
Twilight knew that one of the human-controlled probes was now bobbing up and down in the field just outside of Ponyville, where another group of unicorns, led by Celestia, were casting a similar spell. Twilight was excited, honored, and completely terrified to be part of this event. If they were successful, then many historical firsts would be accomplished today. The first time the Veil had been directly influenced by a spell like this. The first time that a fissure was opened using both magic and technology. The first time that magic had been used to select the location of that fissure, and the first time that visitors from another world would then use that fissure to open diplomatic relations with Equestria. If this all turned out, every pony here would have their names in the history books for what they'd accomplished this day. She found herself eagerly wondering what the humans looked like. Erin had tried to describe them, but with no point of reference, Twilight was having a hard time imagining them. In her mind, she was picturing elongated monkeys of a sort, which seemed both disturbing and comical. Of course, once they were done, then she wouldn't have to wonder anymore. She would see them for herself.
Focus, Twilight Sparkle. Bring yourself back into sync.
Yes, Princess.
Twilight inwardly cursed herself for her lack of concentration. This was no time to daydream. Every pony was counting on her to do her part. The air hummed oddly, setting her teeth on edge. She was amazed to discover that she could actually feel the veil shifting, though she wasn't sure exactly how she was feeling it. There was a sense of motion and a rippling in the magical field. Princess Celestia had another dozen unicorns in Ponyville casting a very similar spell, and she could feel a hint of her teacher's familiar magic as the veil moved.
Almost.
Luna scowled with her own efforts in the shaping field.
Increase output to 23 thumbs. Prepare for full synchronization.
Twilight grunted with effort as she increased her output. Her horn now had an overglow, small sparks of raw magic popping off randomly. She hoped that she wasn't the only one here who was so taxed by this amount of effort. Celestia had asked her, personally, to be on this team, expressing her confidence that Twilight would be able to keep pace with the older and much more experienced members of the Arcanum. Twilight couldn't handle the thought of letting the princess down. She focused her attention single-mindedly. If any pony was going to mess this spell up, it wasn't going to be her.
Erin, alert your people that we are prepared.
Erin nodded and said something, presumably to Maggie, that Twilight couldn't overhear. A second tone clamored over the first, jarring and unsettling. The two different tones were out of harmony, almost at odds with one another. It was like chewing tin to Twilight, and she felt her skin crawling at the sensation. Desperately, she tried to block it out, refocused on the spell, concentrating on her stream of magic feeding steadily into the shared pool that Luna was shaping. The two tones gradually shifted, coming more and more into tune with one another. Finally, they harmonized completely, and a section of the... Damn it, Double R. Oh, I'm sorry. For those in the stream that wondered why I just burst out laughing, we're talking about tones gradually shifting and coming into tune with one another, and Double R just posted the THX theme. The two tones gradually shifted, coming more and more into tune with one another. Finally, they harmonized completely, and a section of the air shimmered as if in a heat haze. The shimmering became more pronounced, until finally, a window resolved in the air, hanging perhaps 2 inches off the ground.
Halt! The spell is complete.
Groaning, Twilight released her magic. She was somewhat relieved to see that she wasn't the only one feeling run down by the intense spellcasting session. Several others had collapsed on the ground in apparent exhaustion. Attendants brought around drinks of water and were assisting several worn-out unicorns back to their hooves. She waved away an attendant who was trying to give her water. Now wasn't the time to be refreshing herself. There was a window to a whole nother world hanging in the air in front of her. Twilight stared into the window with acute interest. She was looking into another world. Granted, what she saw wasn't all that impressive, but that was besides the point. Various gadgets lined the walls, which were apparently made out of concrete and metal. There were a group of figures standing before the window. She stared, thrilled and fascinated, at her first glimpse of actual humans. They didn't really fit her preconceptions. She was expecting bigger ears and lower brows for some reason. Also, they were all wearing suits or skirts or various other articles of clothing, many with what seemed like an odd cut, at least to her eye. She'd spent enough time with Rarity to know that the fabrics looked very high quality, and the clothing, though somewhat odd looking, was very well tailored. She was surprised by how well she could read their emotions, considering she'd never seen one of them before. For the most part, they seemed to be caught somewhere between fascination and fear. Their hair was mostly like Aaron had said, spreading out of the tops and sides of their heads in various styles and colors, though they seemed to be restricted to a range of blacks, browns, and yellows. She wondered, idly, which ones were males and which were females. It seemed fairly safe to assume the ones with skirts were females, but she'd wait for confirmation before making any assumptions. Though she did recall that ones with beards were going to be male. She made out a few of those standing in the crowd, and judging by their general appearance, marked several of the non-bearded ones as likely males as well. One of the humans, this one with a shortly cropped gray mane and no facial hair, stepped forward boldly through the gateway. The other humans trailed after, somewhat nervously, as the first one bowed deeply at the waist to Luna and spoke in an oddly accented, masculine voice.
Princess Luna, it is my very great honor to meet you. I am Sir Arthur Douglas of the United Kingdom of Great Britain, and a representative of the United Nations. On behalf of all nations on Earth, I extend to you our most sincere thanks for your welcome to your world, and for your invitation to speak with you on what is a matter of great urgency to us all.
The other humans bowed as well, but none of the others introduced themselves. Twilight gathered that Arthur Douglas was the lead spokeshuman for the group. Luna smiled warmly, spreading her wings slightly as she stepped forward, her royal regalia glinting in the light.
Welcome, humans, and Sir Arthur Douglas. Welcome to Equestria. On behalf of my sister, Princess Celestia, myself, and the government of Equestria, I extend to you the spirit of friendship and cooperation, and hope that we can negotiate well to our mutual benefit. For now, however, I will turn you over to Chancellor Oates, who will see that you are settled comfortably. For the time being, I must consult with my sister. I hope you won't mind my absence. Fare you well.
With that, Luna spread her wings and sprung into the air. The apparently awestruck humans watched her go, mouths gaping open. Which is probably why they almost missed it when a rose-colored unicorn mare with a red mane and purple glasses stepped forward, bowing her head formally.
Good afternoon. I am High Counselor Rosie Oates, head of the Royal Equestrian Ministry of Diplomatic Relationships. I will gladly lead you to your rooms, or if you prefer, we could take a tour of the palace.
Very quickly, it was agreed that several of the humans would take the tour, while the rest, possibly servants or aides, would move the baggage and equipment into their rooms. 8 of the humans walked off with Chancellor Oates, trailing a collection of ponies from both the guards and ambassadorial aid staff, while the remaining 7 remained behind, bringing bags and boxes and strange wheeled suitcases across into Equestria. The Canterlot porters materialized out of whatever mysterious space they inhabited when their services weren't required in order to help with the carrying. Out of the corner of her eye, Twilight saw Erin bouncing excitedly on her hooves, apparently trying to catch the attention of one of the humans in the garden. She wandered closer, curious, and heard her friend stage whispering.
Maggie, over here.
The human, a female, turned at that. When she saw Erin, a huge grin broke out on her face.
Erin! Erin! It's good to see you.
The plump human rushed over to the excited pony and gave her a quick hug around the neck. Twilight stared in surprise. This was Maggie? She didn't look anything like Twilight had expected. She had expected, well, a more commanding figure, like Princess Celestia. This human was a bit shorter and somewhat rounder than the others, with streaks of gray in her brownish mane. However, Twilight decided that she had a friendly and open smile.
Allow me to introduce my friends.
I feel like I know them already.
Rainbow Dash and Pinkie Pie looked openly curious, almost rudely so, while Applejack and Rarity seemed more reserved. Fluttershy, of course, was doing her best to be inconspicuous, hiding behind Applejack. Erin quickly introduced her pony friends one by one. When she got to Fluttershy, Twilight watched in amazement as the human kneeled onto the grass. Slowly, she held out one of her hands, palm up, smiling gently at the cowering Pegasus.
Hello, Fluttershy. My name is Maggie. I know you get nervous around new people, but I just want to say that I would never hurt you. And I really hope that we can be friends.
Fluttershy looked out from behind Applejack nervously, staring wide-eyed at the human.
Hello?
She ducked back behind AJ. Maggie sighed and stood back up.
Well, I guess that's as much as I could expect.
Actually, that's more than I got out of her when I first met her. It wasn't until she saw Spike that she opened up. If you really want to talk to Fluttershy, get a cute animal and show it to her.
Ah, Twilight Sparkle. I'm very pleased to meet you.
Maggie smiled and extended her hand. Twilight extended her hoof, and Maggie shook it gently. Her hands were warmer than she'd expected.
You are a mare after my own heart, a scientist and a scholar.
This feels so odd. You know so much about us, but today's the first day we've even seen any human.
Except Erin, of course.
She doesn't count.
Hey!
Maggie, as well as several of the ponies, laughed.
Well, amongst a select few humans, you all are pretty famous after all.
Behind Applejack, Fluttershy let out a quiet squeak of distress at the word famous.
Really? Famous? You don't say.
Her eyes drifted over to the humans toiling by the gateway.
I think I'll just head over there and see if I can lend them a hoof.
Twilight rolled her eyes as her Pegasus friend wandered, oh so casually, over to the working humans to ask if they needed any help. She turned back to Maggie with a smile.
Well, I'm looking forward to visiting your world. When can we stop over there?
Well, at the moment, Equestria and Project Harmonics are still top secret from the general public. We didn't want to get folks' hope up until we were certain that we could move here. There's going to be a general announcement soon, but I'm afraid just having ponies walking around on Earth would be a little bit of a giveaway. If you wanted to, though, I could authorize you to walk around the Harmonics Lab. At least the secure sections. Would you like that?
That would be interesting. Aaron, care to show me around?
Sure. I think that would be kind of fun. Besides, I'd like to pick up some of my stuff from my old room, like my tablet. Anybody else want to come with us?
I'll admit to being curious.
Thank you, but I believe Fluttershy and I shall go and have some tea somewhere quiet instead. Rarity smiled warmly at the obviously much relieved Fluttershy, who quickly stopped hiding behind Applejack and instead started hiding behind the fashionista instead as they both walked off. Twilight was about to ask Pinkie what her thoughts were, but the hyperactive pony was nowhere to be seen. Looking around, Twilight finally saw her passing out what looked to be party invitations to the humans left behind at the gate.
Should we get going then?
Twilight tingled with eagerness to explore as much of this new world as she'd be allowed to see.
Of course, Twilight.
Maggie stood up, groaning and complaining about her knees, and then motioned the others to join them. As they approached the gateway, Twilight heard Pinkie talking rapidly to the reluctant and baffled-looking humans.
I know there's an official reception tomorrow night, but that's going to be all official and boring. Trust me, you guys are going to want to come to my party tonight. I'll have cakes and cookies and punch and party games, and I even drew up a new poster for a game of pin the tail on the human. But I forgot you guys don't have tails. But that's okay, because it's all in good fun anyways, right?
Trust me on this one, fellas. You do not want to miss a Pinkie Pie party. I've never had more fun in my life than that.
Pinkie beamed at the praise, and the humans at the gateway hesitantly took their invites from the hyperactive pony. Twilight spoke to her as well as the nearby Rainbow Dash spoke to her as well as the nearby Rainbow Dash, who looked frustrated for some reason.
We're going to go visit Earth. Did you two want to come with us?
You bet. I want to see an Earth pony. I mean, not an Earth pony, but a pony from Earth.
Well, we can probably show you some videos, but I guess we're not going to be leaving the harmonics lab today.
Aww.
Look, let's just get going, okay?
Twilight's eagerness was overwhelming her patience at this point. She turned towards the gate, took a deep breath, and stepped quickly through before her nerves failed her. The sound of her hooves echoed oddly on the concrete floor as she stepped into the large area on the other side of the gateway. She exhaled her breath and looked around, mildly disappointed. She'd expected something more odd when she crossed over the barrier, some sensation that denoted she'd stepped from one world into another. Instead, it was just like walking into a room from outside. Humans in long white coats scattered around the room, straightened up, looking at her with some surprise. Most of them were sitting behind odd glowing rectangles on desks. Others were carrying similar small rectangular devices all around. All activity stopped, though, as they became aware of the ponies in the room. She heard them whispering to each other excitedly as she walked slowly into the room. She heard a clattering behind her and turned to see that Aaron, along with Pinky and Maggie, had followed her into the room. Applejack and Rainbow Dash glanced at each other doubtfully for a moment before they stepped through at the same time, also into the room.
This is the first time for most of them to have seen a pony from your world in flesh. I hope you don't mind their staring a little.
Doesn't bother me.
The truth was, it was a little unnerving to be on the receiving end of this much attention from aliens. She was suddenly very glad that Rarity had made excuses for Fluttershy. The timid Pegasus likely would have imploded with this many strange eyes on her. She glanced back at the others. Only Pinky seemed completely unfazed, rubbernecking with unabashed curiosity. Applejack and Rainbow huddled close together, both trying to look nonchalant, but failing miserably. Twilight heard a small commotion from the room and turned back to see a small group of scientists, mostly male from what she could tell, approaching nervously. One of them was holding a thick piece of square paper in front of his chest. Egged on by his colleagues, he approached the ponies hesitantly, walking slowly towards Rainbow Dash, who eyed him with no small amount of her own apprehension.
Uh, excuse me, Miss Dash, but if it's not a problem.
He held out the paper, and Twilight could see that it was a remarkably vivid photograph of her Pegasus friend, a fierce scowl on her face, standing on the back of a downed chimera in a field outside of Ponyville. He then held out a pen.
It's just, I'm a big fan. Could I have your autograph?
Rainbow looked shocked for a moment, and then a look of sheer joy suffused her features.
Oh, yeah.
Erin barely managed to stop herself from sighing with frustration as the ponies were suddenly swamped by admiring and curious scientists. Rainbow and Pinky were eating it up, but Applejack looked about ready to jump out of her skin, and Twilight seemed to be actively looking for places to hide. Several more scientists had prints of the ponies and were waving them at them, trying to get autographs. Others were trying to ask questions, which quickly got loud as they had to shout over the din of everyone else's questions.
Okay, that's enough. These ponies are visitors to our world, remember? Give them some room to breathe. There's all the time in the world to talk to them later. Now that we can visit whenever we want.
Erin is right. I want all of you back at your stations and monitoring this gateway for any distortions or anomalies. The ponies may be stabilizing it, but that doesn't mean we get to slack.
Some of the scientists muttered in protest, but they all moved back to their stations, while Erin tapped her hoof in annoyance.
I'm sorry about that. We all watched the footage of your adventures in Ponyville, and a small fandom has sprung up.
It's okay. I'd probably be the same way if things were the other way around.
The ponies settled down after a while, and Erin took on the role of tour guide, answering questions and pointing things out excitedly. It was more fun than she'd expected to have, showing her friends the aspects of Earth life that she considered routine and mundane, but that the ponies were fascinated by. Unfortunately, the areas that they were allowed to tour weren't all that large, She did bring them to her old obstacle course, though, explaining that this was where she'd learned to be a pony. Of course, after that, nothing would do except for Applejack and Rainbow Dash to race each other through the course. The rest of the group watched as the two friends went through the obstacles. Erin was overcome with a sense of nostalgia as she turned to Maggie.
I know you could turn me back to a human, but I'm really not in any hurry. I'd like to stay as a pony for a while until things get settled.
Good.
Maggie spoke while watching the ponies run the race. Pinky had suddenly decided to run as well, catching up to the other two surprisingly quickly.
The Ascent Labs are closed down right now, in any case.
What do you mean?
Once you were transformed and teleported off, we didn't need Herman and his crew. So we shipped them off to India to see if they could do anything to slow down the tide. They are the international experts on nanotechnology, after all. We could get them back, but it would take weeks before they could get out here and set up.
Oh,
Erin felt a little bloom of worry over that, and Maggie must have picked up on it.
Is something wrong, Aaron? I thought you were okay with staying as a pony for a while.
well, yeah, I am, but there's a difference between being willing to stay like this and not having any choice in them.
Ah, yes, I can see that. But don't worry. It shouldn't be any longer than a month or so before he can spare some time to come back.
No rush, I guess.
She glanced up and saw Twilight giving her a look of sympathy and smiled awkwardly back.
Are you going to be okay, Aaron?
Oh, yeah, sure. It's not like I mind being a pony, and I was ready to stay this way for convenience sakes anyways. I just kind of worry that things might go wrong is all.
Twilight pressed her shoulder against her in the pony equivalent of a comforting hug, and Erin leaned back into it. Shortly after that, their friends finished running the course. Surprisingly, Pinky had finished well in the lead and was bouncing excitedly on her hooves.
Let's do that again.
Let's not. That took more out of me than I expected.
You're getting out of shape, AJ.
Rainbow looked pretty tired herself. Erin looked at her friends, concerned. This obstacle course was more for developing basic pony skills, not for endurance. She knew from personal experience that the other two were more than athletic enough to breeze through this without breaking a sweat, and yet they were both sweating profusely. She wasn't the only one that was concerned. Twilight was regarding her friends with a small frown.
Applejack, would you mind if I lifted you up briefly? I just want to check something.
Okay, I guess.
Twilight's horn glowed, and the earth pony lifted a foot off the ground. Twilight then moved her friend a few feet to the side before putting her back down.
Is everything okay, Twilight?
Erin's unicorn friend was frowning and staring at the floor.
Everything is okay, yes. But that wore me out more than it should have. It's very subtle, but I've been feeling something was off for the last few minutes. My guess is that the magical field of Equestria is radiating slightly into Earth from the open gateway, but the further we go from it, the less magic we have access to. Since Applejack and Rainbow Dash's magic is mostly physical, they notice the effects of it first. However, we should be careful not to go too far away from the gateway. I don't know what would happen.
Erin noted that her friends looked a little sickly at the thought of not having any magic. She definitely sympathized. Having no magic would probably be like losing a limb to them.
Perhaps we should return. We've already seen most of the interesting things we can by now.
That's probably a good idea.
Actually, Maggie, could you take them back without me? I just want to get a few things from my room and maybe see Dr. Edwards really quick. I have to thank him for his help.
Erin also had a favor to ask him, but she felt stupid even thinking about it. She imagined that the irritable scientist would likely just bite her head off for daring to waste his precious time. They said their goodbyes, and Maggie led the ponies back to the gateway. Erin took a moment to orient herself and then trotted off to find the room she'd stayed in as a pony. It was only a short trot there, and she smiled broadly at the familiar faces of the scientists and technicians she ran into in the hallways, all of whom greeted her with surprise. Her room was as she remembered it. She went right to her nightstand and was going to grab her tablet and the charger when she realized that she'd left her saddlebags back in Equestria. Sighing, she took her pillow out of the case and shoved the tablet in there. She also stuffed a book she'd been reading, an old-fashioned paperback. It was a Discworld book, and one she'd read before, but she hadn't quite had the time to finish it before heading to Equestria. Granted, reading a paperback as a pony might present a challenge, but it was something she was interested in trying. Just for fun, she also grabbed some of her human clothing from the packed suitcase on the floor. Rarity might get a kick out of that. In addition, she grabbed some ribbons and hair clips she'd left behind, thinking it might be fun to fancy herself up a little, now that the humans had arrived. Then, with her laden pillowcase dangling from her mouth, she trotted off to find Dr. Edwards. The doctor in question was just where she expected to find him, immersed in the cybernetics lab. One of his aides showed her in and led her to his office, where the man himself was scowling down at some paperwork on his desk. Erin swallowed her nervousness and tapped lightly at the door. Dr. Edwards glanced up, the look of supreme irritation on his face vanishing into surprise as he saw who was knocking. He got
Miss-
up and walked around his desk, opening the glass door.
Miss Olson, I'm surprised to see you here. What do you want?
Well, first I wanted to thank you for uncovering what Velchek was doing to me, and acting to stop it.
I didn't do it for you. I did it because he was misusing my work. Still, you're welcome.
Erin smiled uncomfortably. Dr. Edwards was still being brusque, but he wasn't being quite as outright rude as she was expecting. Still, the favor she wanted to ask might set him off.
I have a... tongue, work with me. I have a favor to ask as well.
The skinny scientist raised a hand to cut her off.
Let me guess. You want your implants deactivated now that we have open communications with Equestria. Is that right?
Well, yes.
That seems reasonable. Did you want all of them shut off, or just the recording device?
Oh, I didn't know that would be an option.
Of course it is! Each device is designed to work independently, in case one or more of them fails.
Erin considered it briefly, and then decided that she'd just like to have all of them shut down. She still had the occasional nightmare with malachite in them, especially after Celestia had informed her that he'd escaped from his prison. She wasn't sure what kind of mischief he could get up to without the override, but she decided that it would be better to not find out.
If you don't mind, could you just shut them all down?
Of course! Just to let you know, the sensory implants will have to maintain certain minimal functionality in order for you to continue using those senses. But I'll shut down all monitoring, broadcasting, and receiving implants, as well as the recording function. Anything else?
No. Thank you again, Dr. Edwards.
My pleasure. I'll have someone on my staff send the shutdown signals right away.
Erin was honestly pleased that this conversation had gone so well. Dr. Edwards turned and walked back into his office, then hesitated, turning back to her. He spoke.
I know I've been somewhat insufferable this whole time. For that, I apologize. All of this has been thrown together more or less at the last moment, and they expected me to work miracles without giving me the time I needed for bare functionality. It made me a little stressed.
I understand, and apology accepted, if you accept mine for the tantrum I threw during your diagnostics testing a while back.
Agreed.
He then gave the first smile Erin had ever seen on his face. Granted, it was a slight anemic little thing, but it was still a smile.
Have a good day, Miss Olson. And congratulations on your successful mission.
With every step they took back through the odd hallways, Twilight felt a little bit of her magic returning. The draining of magic had been a gradual thing, and she'd been too distracted by all the strangeness around her to notice it at first. Now that she was looking for it, though, she could definitely tell the difference. She discovered that she could actually feel where the gateway was, both the direction and by the strength of the magical field coursing through it. It was almost like feeling the sun on her coat. Applejack, Pinky, and Rainbow Dash were also perking up, recovering more strength as they got closer to the gateway. When they finally crossed back over into Equestria, Twilight breathed a sigh of relief, which was mirrored by Rainbow and AJ. Maggie, stating that she had lots of work to do, said her goodbyes and left, but only after Pinky had given her an invitation to her Welcome to Equestria party.
Well, that was weird. Kind of like I was really tired for no good reason. Like I had feather flu or something.
I'd sure like to see what Earth is like, but I don't reckon I'll be spending too much time there. With no magic, I guess I'd never really thought that much about how I needed magic to keep my strength up.
I know what you mean, but something Aaron told me about has gotten me thinking. Do you remember her talking about batteries? I have to wonder, maybe there's a way to store up a pool of magic in an inanimate object or something. That way, we could wander around the Earth without getting all worn out.
Yeah, well, you go work on that, Twilight. I'm going to stretch my wings a bit. See you later.
And with that, Rainbow Dash shot off into the air. Applejack pushed her hat back on her head.
Well, I reckon I'll go find Rarity and Fluttershy. You want to come with me?
No, thank you. I wanted to talk to some of the unicorns from the Arcanum while I have a chance. Maybe they know of some way to store magical energy.
Just like you, Twi. Well, then I guess it's just me and. Hey, where'd Pinky go?
I don't know. She was just here a second ago.
They looked around, but there was no sign of the pink pony.
For such a brightly colored pony, she sure can disappear when she wants to.
I'm sure she'll turn up soon enough. She's probably just getting things set up for her party.
You're probably right. Well, I'll be off. See you later, Twi.
Twilight waved as Applejack wandered off, then looked around the grounds. Many of the Arcanum members who'd helped shift and stabilize the gateway were still around, talking amongst themselves and regarding their handiwork. Several younger and less experienced members of the Arcanum were also on hoof to maintain the spell that kept the gates stable. She glanced up as a quick motion caught her eye, smiling as she recognized the distant form of Princess Celestia returning to the castle. The princess landed on her private balcony and quickly made her way inside. She was sure the princesses were both busy, but maybe they could spare some time later on to talk about her idea for a portable magical reserve of some sort. But first, she had to talk to some of the more experienced unicorns. If she was going to make a proposal to Celestia, she wanted to make certain that she already had as many details as possible already worked out. She was still talking to an elderly unicorn stallion named Arcane Grace when she saw Erin step back through the gateway, carrying a flimsy white sack of some sort in her teeth. She excused herself to go and talk to her human turned pony friend.
Twilight, I was hoping I'd run into you. I have a great supplies. I have my tablet here.
With that, she stuck her head in the sack and came out a moment later with a shiny black rectangle of some sort, with what looked like glass on one side.
Hold on.
Erin sat her rump on the ground Erin sat on her rump and held the thing on the flat of one hoof while poking at it with the other. She pressed a button and the glass lit up, followed shortly afterwards by the device making a soft ding sound.
Ooh!
See? This is a tablet. I told you about these, right?
It's a personal data device, right?
Twilight looked at the screen in fascination. It was so bright.
You said that it held books and movies and games and things like that, right?
Right. It also connects to the internet, though I really don't think Equestria has access.
Erin grinned impishly, and Twilight smiled back. It was obvious that her friend was extremely excited to show her this. Admittedly, she was nearly as excited to see it. Here was a piece of genuine human technology. She still wasn't sure what it meant that there was all these things inside of it, but maybe it would make more sense when she saw it in action.
Here, let me unlock it.
Erin ran her hoof across the screen. Nothing happened. Frowning, Erin ran her hoof across the screen, followed by still more. Absolutely nothing.
Ah, I forgot that hooves don't work with this one.
She looked like she was going to cry.
Why wouldn't hooves work?
It's a touch screen. It needs fingers to work.
I don't get it.
Erin sighed and stood up.
Well, that was a complete bust.
Why not have one of the humans do it for you?
Erin looked up, surprised, before smacking herself in the forehead with a hoof.
Of course, wait here.
Twilight watched as Erin took the tablet in her mouth and ran to the nearest human. They had a brief discussion, and the human took the device gingerly, running his fingers over it as Erin instructed him to, tapping and tracing. It took a few minutes, but Erin soon came trotting back, grinning around the tablet in her mouth.
I had him activate voice mode. Okay, watch this. Tablet, open folder, pictures. Open folder, graduation. Display picture, grad photo.
Twilight watched in awe as the device responded to her friend's commands. At the end, the device displayed a picture of a human wearing a black robe and an odd flat hat with a tassel on it. The human was smiling joyfully out of the front of the tablet, holding a scroll tied with a ribbon.
That's me.
What?
Twilight stared at the picture, then stared at the pony holding the tablet, then back again at the picture. It was almost inconceivable that these two were the same creature. The human in the picture looked different. She had lighter green eyes, for one, and a light brown mane rather than the auburn that Erin had as a pony. The smile was nearly the same, though. It was a smile that took up the whole face, with a spark of joy in her eyes that was almost infectious.
That's when I graduated from high school. So that's a few years old, but I didn't really look much different. My hair's a little shorter before I. My hair was a little shorter before I got changed, but otherwise I look pretty much the same. I, ignore the silly hat and robes. We humans only wear those for graduations.
That's. Wow.
Twilight sat down, staring at the picture. Erin's smile faded somewhat in concern.
Are you okay, Twilight?
Yes. Yes, it's just. I knew you were a human before being a pony, but that was. Well, it's like I knew that mentally, but not emotionally, you know? And now it's real and it feels weird.
Erin angled the tablet away from her to look at it herself.
Oh, does it bother you?
Twilight smiled gently.
It will take some getting used to, but don't worry. It was just a surprise, that's all. I'd recommend warning the others about it before you show them that picture, just so that they have time to prepare for it.
Okay. Well, let's close that and I'll show you some other neat things, okay?
All right.
Come on, guys, loosen up.
Erin bumped a startled woman in the leg with her head.
Think you put a lot of effort into this party.
For the most part, the humans were the aides of the ambassadorial staff, along with a large number of the off-duty harmonic scientists. The camera crew was helping to keep things awkward by silently filming everyone while insisting that people pretend we're not here. The ponies included almost all of her friends from Ponyville, except for Fluttershy, who had a sudden onset of crippling social phobia syndrome. Also included were several off duty guards, a smattering of curious castle staff, and some of the lower ranking pony ambassadorial aides. In addition, there were a couple of young griffins, though neither one was Greta. They were a couple, though, judging by how they were basically hanging on each other all night. No pony very high up on either side had deigned to show up at this party, preferring the more formal and official reception the following night. It wasn't as big of a success as the party that had been thrown for Erin back in Ponyville. Many of the Canterlot ponies seemed too concerned with their appearances, and most of the humans seemed dazed, standing around in small groups of other humans while holding glasses of punch. Pinky was doing her best to keep things going, but none of the humans or ponies really seemed interested in her party games. It was heartbreaking seeing the look of desperation on her pink features as she tried to jolly people and ponies to interact. Erin gave up trying to push people one at a time to join in and sidled up to Twilight, who was watching the proceedings with a small frown on her face.
This isn't going as well as I hoped. The Canterlot ponies are too snooty, and the humans just seem to be stunned by everything.
Poor Pinky. She looks so frantic for every pony to have fun.
Aaron could have only watched as the party mare tried to get the different groups to mix.
I ain't seen her this upset since she thought we didn't like her parties anymore.
You don't think she's going to go all loopy again, do you?
She may, the poor dear. Aaron watched as yet another group of humans grinned awkwardly at Pinky before waving off her efforts to get them to loosen up. Pinky sat down with a sigh, and Aaron could swear that she could see tears in her blue eyes. Then, the worst thing ever happened. Pinky's lower lip began to tremble. Aaron set her drink down firmly and began walking towards a small, raised stage in the middle of the party room. Twilight called out after her.
What are you going to do?
Something that I'm sure I'll regret. Please don't think please don't think less of me for this.
Quickly, she found Maggie chatting with some of her colleagues and talked her into coming with her. She needed fingers for her plan, thanks to her hooves not working on standard touchscreens. As she walked, she quickly explained her idea to the scientist, who chuckled with anticipation.
Well, this should be interesting. Aaron, but I don't believe your reputation will survive it.
It was the trembling lip that did it, she thought as she climbed up on the stage. Trembling lower lips were too much for anyone, human or pony, to bear. She stepped bravely in front of the microphone at the center of the stage and tapped it a couple of times with her hoof, hearing the echo of the tap from speakers all over the room.
Hello, every pony, every human, and every griffin. Some of you know me, some of you don't. My name is Aaron, and I'm a human who was turned into a pony.
She had everyone's attention now. Even the pair of griffins had stopped making out long enough to pay attention to her.
You know, Pinky had asked me when she was setting all this up what kinds of things humans do for fun at parties, and well, I remembered that we had this old thing in the break room in the harmonics facility.
She pointed to the screen that was set up on a rolling cart. Maggie was busily scrolling through the menus until she found what she was looking for, and then turned to give Aaron a thumbs up.
Luckily, it didn't take much effort at all to get it plugged into the sound system. So, let's get this party really started. How about we have a nice round of karaoke?
She nodded to Maggie and the music started, an old disco song from way before Aaron's mother had ever been born. She wasn't sure why it was, but every karaoke machine she'd ever seen had this song on it. And, at some point, someone always got drunk enough to try and sing it. Aaron wasn't drunk, and though she liked singing, she rarely sang in public, because she'd been reliably informed that she had the musical aptitude of a slightly deafened goat. Ordinarily, when forced for whatever reason to sing within earshot of anyone else, Erin made sure that she kept herself quiet and tried her best to stay in tune. Tonight was different. Tonight, she was going to sing loudly. She would sing proudly and without reservation. Tonight, she was going to sing ABBA's classic hit, Waterloo. Taking a deep breath, she launched into her song, belting it out as if she were actually proud of her performance. It was passionate. It was loud. It was only passingly familiar with the correct tune. Erin had kept her eyes closed for most of the song, but curiosity eventually overwhelmed her enough to crack a lid open. Dozens of eyes, human and pony alike, were upon her, typically staring from above mouths, gaping open in shock. Rainbow Dash and Applejack were trying hard not to laugh at her performance, but Pinkie Pie was under no such reservations, rolling on the floor in uninhibited glee. Normally, she would have wanted to sink into the floor in shame, but tonight was different. Tonight, these people had almost made Pinkie Pie cry. And for that, they were going to be punished. With music, she continued singing ABBA at the top of her voice, unrelenting. The song started to wrap up, and Erin sang the final verses with gusto. The music stopped. Dead silence reigned for a few seconds, aside from Pinkie laughing her tail off.
Yeah, woo! That was so much fun. Okay, who wants to go next? What Nobody really... Oh, look, they have more ABBA. Maybe I should go again.
No!
No!
The cry was near universal. Erin hid her grin as best as she could.
Well, if you don't want me up here singing, maybe some pony else should get up their butts up over here and take over. Huh? How about it? You guys?
She pointed to a random couple of humans. They shook their heads and tried to wave her off.
Okay, no problem.
Erin glanced over at the screen. The menu was still on the disco option.
Oh, look, they have Staying Alive. I love singing that song. Maggie, cue it up, will you?
There was mass panic as the people she'd pointed to, a man and a woman, were railroaded by their friends up onto the stage. Erin hopped off, smiling in satisfaction. They didn't play the Bee Gees. Instead, they played Summer Nights from the similarly ancient Grease soundtrack. After that, the ice was broken, and more people took their turns attempting to sing. After Erin's self-inflicted humiliation, no one seemed to mind a vastly lesser amount of embarrassment. Even some ponies got into it, though they didn't know any of the songs. Fortunately, it seemed that most ponies were gifted with a natural sense of pitch and decent singing voices, so they typically fared at least as well as the humans.
I'm really glad that worked.
Erin confided this to Twilight Sparkle as an extremely confused Rainbow Dash and Applejack attempted a floundering and completely out of sync rendition of Bohemian Rhapsody.
I'd hate to think that I'd humiliated myself for nothing.
That really was the worst singing I've ever heard. It was really nice of you, singing so poorly on purpose just to get the party going.
Actually, that's how I really sing.
Erin blushed and chuckled at the same time. Twilight stared in amazement.
I thought it was all an act. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that...
Don't worry about it, Twilight. I know how bad my singing is, really. It's okay. It was more important that this party go off well. I didn't want to see Pinky upset after all the work she put into this.
You mean that awful singing was for me?
Pinky popped up unexpectedly behind her.
Yes, I guess so.
Pinky's eyes brimmed with tears as she smiled with joy, hugging Erin.
Why, that's the most sweetest, bravest, most superifically horrifying thing that any pony's ever done to try and make a party of mine a success. Thank you so much, and please never do it again.
Erin laughed, hugging the pink pony back.
You got it, Pinkie Pie.
The party continued late into the night. The karaoke was finally put away, once enough people and ponies had embarrassed themselves for one night. Random music was played over the sound system, alternating between recorded pony music and human music. There was some dancing and were conversations, and groups of ponies and humans mingled and talked. Party games were played, including the pin the tail on the human game that Pinky had prepared. Basically, you could only win if you missed the human completely, since humans didn't have tails. Erin found that hilarious for some reason. As the party wrapped up, Erin let herself outside to stare at the window, hanging in the air in the middle of the Canterlot Gardens. Electric light spilled eerily across the manicured lawn as human porters brought back the empty boxes and luggage, the contents of which had been unpacked into the rooms of the human ambassadors. A tent was being set up right outside the gate, with cables running back into the harmonics lab. Apparently, equipment was being set up inside that would act as a communication hub for all of the human equipment in the area. They were also setting up various monitors that would take over Erin's role as the surveyor of Equestria. She wondered briefly if they had a wireless connection to the internet. She'd like to check her email, if possible.
Remind me to never let you sing again.
Maggie had come up beside her. Erin smiled wearily. She heard variations on that theme all night, and it was starting to wear thin. It had been worth it, but still.
It's nice that the party worked out, however. Miss Pinkie Pie sure does seem to throw a great bash when the people that show up pull the sticks out of their butts.
She's a great person. Pretty much every pony I've met here has been nice.
Every pony? You've gone native, I see.
Erin laughed and nudged the scientist with her shoulder.
You try eating pony food for a month straight and see if you don't go native.
Oh, speaking of which, you are right. The food here is amazing. I don't know if it's magic or whatever it is, but those were the best cupcakes I've ever eaten.
They talked for a short while longer, just casually. Erin had always liked Maggie, even before she'd come over to Equestria, and it was nice to be able to talk without having to worry about a window closing mid-conversation.
I see what you mean by magic.
Maggie looked up into the glorious night sky, so like, and at the same time unlike, Earth's.
There's so much here that's outside of our experience and understanding. It baffles the mind, doesn't it?
You get used to it.
Erin said, suddenly feeling absurdly happy. They stood in silence for a few minutes longer.
Well, I suppose I should be getting back to bed. I've got back-to-back meetings all day tomorrow with various extremely important people who have nothing better to do than stick their noses in my business. Good night, Erin.
Good night, Maddie. Good night, Maggie. Thanks for coming. I know it meant a lot to Pinkie Pie.
It was my pleasure, Erin. If tonight was any indication, I think I'll really enjoy living in this world.
Erin watched her go as she crossed back through the hallway, waving at the unicorns, standing guard as she did so. Erin wasn't sure why where there were guards posted. They didn't seem to stop anyone from crossing. Finally, her jaws cracking with a massive yawn, she decided to call it a night herself and left the party in search of her own bed.
I'm
good.
just a
Yay.
poor boy. Show me no sympathy. Caught
Because
in
it's
a
easy come, easy go,
Little
little high,
little
little
low.
every way the wind blows doesn't really matter
To me.
to me.
Why the fuck does the song keep changing all the time? God dang.
Just killed a man.
Oh God.
Put a
I don't know
gun
any of you guys.
against his head.
So I need to look up ABBA's Waterloo, I guess, because I thought it was going to be something I would know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Waterloo's a great song.
It's one of those songs that you know the melody, but for the life of you cannot remember the lyrics. Apart
You
from
see
the
him-
word Waterloo.
Well, okay, maybe not Waterloo, but like, let's see of hypothetical here. CMC, do you know the lyrics to "Staying Alive"? Let's hear you sing that. Give us an idea.
Huh?
Hey!
I know the
That's
I don't
one of
think
the
it goes
lyrics
like that.
actually.
the middle beat there.
You just have to
because
repeat that like 2 or
it's-
3 more times.
Huh?
Yeah.
Staying alive.
It's just like you're giving CPR. Huh?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes, because you use that rhythm for giving CPR.
Or it's just like you're monitoring all your gauges in your plane. Huh? 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 But yes. Well, or I guess you could use that while you're
Staying
killing
alive.
zombies. Huh? 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 Staying alive. Staying alive.
I think you failed at staying alive.
Yeah, I think you just succeeded in wasting a lot of ammo.
Yeah, you're not gonna be staying alive if you keep ejecting live shells.
Oh, you can hear those
move
bouncing
out
off
of
my
the way,
console?
Like it, you got competition.
It's all about that ejection, isn't it?
It's all about that
Look,
ejection, that
the
ejection,
shotgun
that
doesn't-
ejection.
Oh, I'm
You
sorry.
inject and eject. That's the
shotgun-
name of the game.
Sorry. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
it's meant to come out
the
the tip.
shotgun. The shotgun doesn't get more powerful if you keep pumping it. I'm sorry, you can't supercharge the shotgun.
Well, that sucks.
Good on you, Cinder. Good on you.
Well,
Okay, so how
So-
much have I missed actually in the WW chat? Because I've been in the just on the page. Oh, only 62 this week.
Yay.
You
I'm
missed the
sorry, I was
THX theme
distracted.
killing Jesse.
I caught that part. That I tabbed over to check that because it was mentioned. Ooh,
What, the sheet music?
the sheet
Yeah.
music is so great.
Yes,
I know.
that's
so we're gonna launch directly into our next fic of the night, which is one of the featured fics on FemFiction right now, called Taboo, and we're just gonna hop directly into the center of it and start reading in Gilbert Gottfried's voice. The gasping femboy did as instructed, plunging his tongue into his sister's asshole with nary a sense of restraint. His fingers dug into the alabaster flesh of her ass harder than before, nearly losing his hands and her enormous backside as he needed.
Jesus
I
Christ.
don't.
We are adults.
Oh
Okay,
gosh,
now,
she's telling
now
the
we need a
truth.
demonstration.
She's telling the truth. Taboo is one of the things here on here listed.
Yep.
Fuck then.
Nice.
As he rounded the corner, he rounded the corner, grasping his entire gigantic dong, and the Doom theme began to play as he stroked harder and harder, trying to overcharge his shotgun.
Wow, there's actually quite a lot of like spelling mistakes that I'm saying here. Her tongue hits the back of his mouth instantly. Her super size being aroused.
Yep, sounds about
Okay.
right. When you have adults enabled on FemFiction and you look at the featured stories, there's always a story on the featured that is just this absolutely terribly written porn story.
You should see what's number one on the featured list here.
Hey, it
I'm
makes
scared
me
to look.
sad because you put all this effort into writing decent smut, and then some jackass puts something out that for some reason is inexplicably popular, even though they don't understand what fucking
I
check
think
is.
I think my favorite thing about this entire thing is the actual author's name.
Oh shit, what's the
Buster
author?
Nut Mark II.
Because apparently Buster Nut deleted the original account out of fear of being caught, and then had a trip of guilty conscience and just made herself put
Caught.
on stuff again.
I love the
Oh,
very
she's
first
finally
one
had
that's
me all my
featured here.
adoring
Okay,
fans.
Sky, why did you message at me that reverse sound though?
The what? Oh, whenever you were doing the voice, you messed up a couple of times and it sounded like you were going in reverse.
What was it really him that messed up, or was it the internet?
Are you talking about the times where my tongue flabbed and I just had to
Yeah. Yeah, you would go like the little bit.
Meanwhile, let's take a look at some of the comments here. Well
Speaking
done,
of
thumbs
which-
up, that was hot.
oh god.
There's
I
an
like how we
insightful
have
comment from Stunt Monkey.
It's probably already been put into the Incest is Wincest group on FemFiction.
Puppy Smiles has lost all faith in equinity. Burn it to the ground.
No, there's
I
worse.
don't think you can burn it fast enough.
Yes, you can. Nukes.
No.
Mini nukes. All the mini nukes. Everywhere.
I like the story with the picture of Trixie, but it just says Tricks.
One morning, all is tricks. Because tricks.
Oh god,
Actually-
that facial expression.
actually,
I just love the very first one that's featured here. It's just like, warning, contains lots of tail fucking.
Is that a
Okay.
mute cantana?
The clientela or whatever
Cantata?
it's called.
A mute cantata.
Yeah.
Kinks
Mute-
include
a mute
female on
cantata.
fuda, fuda on female, oral, deep throat, literally choking on dick, stealth sex, spontaneous ejaculations, shower sex, vaginal, and a sloppy cream pie.
These side effects and more if you try to use whatever.
Quick question: does Cyril have his Klopp album uploaded anywhere.
Oh,
And
he
this-
sobs and he clops?
Yeah.
And
I
this
thought it was just
and
called
this
Clopper.
story is from
No.
and this story is from a person named Some Leech, and this apparently is his 140th story, mostly Clop.
Jesus
And I'm-
Christ.
And
How
they've been a
many-
member since the beginning of 2017, so it's been about 3 years. And I am looking at, basically, it's just like all Clop here.
The very okay. If you take a look at this person's account, Some Leech's account, the very first featured story is called "Scratch and Sniff."
Oh no.
The rip.
You know,
BBB,
you know.
BBBF piggyback ride.
Oh, well, you know.
Alrighty then.
Thank you for the absolute awkward silence.
Do you
And
expect?
that's how Equestria was made.
So, yeah, I guess we'll get to shout outs, and I'm going to start off this shout out in a little bit of a weird way, because the very first shout out that we have to get out tonight is the shout out to the Logitech webcam that Double R has had that managed to pick up his voice as well as it did from underneath a bunch of shit on his desk.
For 3 years. Here.
Yay!
Thank you.
And next up, we'll just have Double R shout out.
Shout outs to the to drunk singings of Bohemian Rhapsody and literally choking on dick. That was Mercury's entire life.
He'd be proud.
I guess going off of choking on dick, we could go on to dark.
Oh.
I mean, listen, $20 is $20.
I think you'd do it for far less than $20.
Hey,
Someone
don't
offered
don't
you
wanna be
like
It depends. It depends how good it is.
a
Yeah,
Twilight.
you don't want to sell
sticker,
yourself short and just get cheap, you know?
a used
Yeah,
Twilight
exactly.
sticker.
Oh,
I
God.
literally just realized that if I play the bass, you guys can hear it.
Yes.
Yes.
Wow.
Surprisingly.
Yeah.
And don't play it too loudly. I don't want to blow up my
Audible sound
HS7.
does transfer through the internet when you're using a voice over IP.
Yeah, it surprised me because I forgot that it was plugged into my second input. And anyway, shout outs.
Now you need to do the Seinfeld
Shout outs
outro.
to Forest Base that I love. Yeah, next on to
and Miss-
Cinder.
Shout out to Forrest's face, which I love. Yay!
Do you have it overlooking you in your bedroom while you sleep?
I mean, only when I'm about to be murdered.
I mean, who doesn't?
I'm always there watching. Always there thinking of you. Always there watching your toes curl from the outstretched feet that your sheets do not cover. I am always waiting for you, always ready for that one moment when I finally take you into the abyss.
Every breath you take.
Always watching Wazowski.
Oh.
Every bond you break. Every step you take. They're watching.
Staying alive.
Nope. I have the proper people watching me at all times. I have Forrest overlooking me while I sleep, and Luna also watching over me while I sleep, and then I have Tempest scowling angrily at me while I work on my computer, telling me that I suck.
That's her entire character.
Yep.
Exactly.
And speaking of telling me that I suck, we'll go on to... Shit, I already did Cinder. We'll go on to Lycan.
Hi, I'm
Yes.
happy to be
So,
here.
a shout out to Winchester's Hat and Doug Dimmadome, owner of Dimsdale Dimmadome.
Doug Dimmadome, the owner of Dugsdale Dimmadome?
That's the one, Doug Dimmadome.
Doug Dimmadome, one of the Dimmadome.
That's the
Me turn
one.
my name is Duck Dibba Dap Duck Dip Dip Dap Dip Dap Dibba Dome.
Alrighty. And next on to, because I don't think I've done her yet, Forest Rain.
Oh, you will never do me. Ha ha ha.
It makes me so sad realizing that every night.
Yeah, but I still watch you sleep. So
As the
Sorry,
Seinfeld
Forest Rain
theme.
is still yet to do that Rainbow Dash.
True. Yeah, shout out as well to literally choking on dick. And for those who aren't into Clop, who I'm pretty sure is absolutely none of our listeners. Oh wow, look at that pizza. Shout out as well to, well, it's not really a shout out, it's just me shamelessly plugging my shit. FOE Invicta, which will drop tomorrow with chapter 5.
Yay.
So FOEinvicta.com.
It'd be nice if I still had time to actually read things.
Not to
Wait. You read things
Dun,
before?
dun.
Note to self, do Invicta later.
Yeah, maybe I might actually read it. Alrighty. I think I've gotten through everybody who isn't a co-host, so next on to Skyrays.
Shoutouts to Scratch and Sniffing the Rim as you're in the BBBBF piggyback ride.
Hey, cut that author some slacks. I follow the guy. Wait, what? No.
Wait. Excuse me? And shoutouts to Lycan, Forest Rain, Dark the Eagle, and Cinder for joining us today.
Thank you very
Huzzah.
much.
Oh,
the
thank
fans
you.
been
I was
troubled.
kidnapped for this.
Okay. And one more shout out to Winchester, because next week I'm going on vacation and he's invited me to his place, so I'm gonna go hang out over there.
Yay.
Once again, I get left in the dust here when all people come to Nebraska.
We're trying
I've gotta
to
pass
minimize the
through-
amount of people due to exposure.
Yeah, I would pass through there if it wasn't for the fact that literally like COVID-19 is like going down people's throat forcefully.
Then why are you going over to his place?
Because
They shouldn't be going out at all.
Because it's not quite as
He doesn't
forceful over
go
here.
anywhere. He's obviously clean. He doesn't leave the house.
No, Skyrays is going nowhere. Get it? He's going nowhere.
Yeah, he's going.
I
to the
was
middle of
literally
nowhere.
about to say, I'm going to a place where the max population is 10.
Actually, no, that's south of here.
Yeah,
24
you're lucky
feet
if
south
you
of
run
there.
into
North
people.
Platte's got to be bigger than that.
It is.
Sorry, Double R.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
that's
say
that in
the
chat.
phrase was coined east of nowhere, actually. Because
But
Wyoming.
it's not nowhere, which means he could get exposed.
Okay, shut up.
And
Next on to CMC.
Fires, explosions, all your own venison jerky, and whatever Chessie train system number I chose today because it was the 50th anniversary gold painted one. Yes. The CSS 7365-14.
Alrighty.
I like trains.
Alrighty. So yes.
also Lycan, I'm very much like that ballistic diaper.
Oh, yes.
Alrighty.
It's
it protects the
going
goods.
off.
Alrighty. Well, thank you all for showing up. And now I'm gonna get into the outro, which you oh so proudly gave to me. Yeah. So, anyways, everybody say goodbye.
Hello!
Bye-bye. Happy
And I love me
get to fly without distress. But you realize there's some downsides that are unique to our kind. If you get hit with a fright or we're getting heavy in the night, it's not that there's something wrong, I just can't seem to get along without my wing boner. The real knockout wing boner make my feelings down about. Yeah, in a club or maybe a pub, I was just trying to get some cider and grub when walked in a cute filly. The shaking thing made me silly when I heard that pump. Oh, and if that wasn't enough, my friend next to me was hitting the jar, and that cute little filly saw my wing boners. Yeah, the real knockout wing boners make my feelings down about. Yeah, yeah, make my feelings known about. Oh, that's a problem I wish I never had. But if it went away, then I'll be sad. 'Cause it feels so good. It's because it feels so good. 'Cause they're wing boners just make me wanna shout in bed. Wing boners, I don't know what I'd do without wing boners. Blowing that girl, wing boners make my feelings known about. Wing boners.
Alrighty, I hope you all enjoy that wonderful song. And yes, it has been fun. But I shall see you all next week. So, this is Winchester 572 going 10-7. I'm out. Bye-bye.